Well, it's kind of predictable now, isn't it? I mean, even the critics aren't sold on the horrific Section 31 movie. At the time of writing this video, the Rotten Tomato scores are 20% for critics and just 17% for audiences. So there's not much of a difference there. As I mentioned, even the dreadful Acolyte TV series at least looked mostly like Star Wars. Section 31 is perhaps the biggest subversion of fan expectations of any franchise in my view. It does not resemble Star Trek in any way. It is so divergent, so utterly unrecognizable as a Star Trek property, and filled with morally ambiguous, cliched characters, a genocidal protagonist who doesn't seem all that yearning for redemption or atonement, and a completely cookie-cutter off-the-shelf plot. It has to be the best example of a franchise being completely transformed and removed from its core identity, values, message, theme, and visual language in the history of entertainment, in my opinion. There is nothing Star Trek here, not even remotely. I've made 2 videos about this production since I had the great displeasure of watching it, so you don't have to, of course. I can't remember the last time I watched something that was so lacking in imagination, fun, or entertainment value. Going into this, based on what you see in the trailers, you know that you're only going to be watching this to see how bad it's actually going to be. And in that regard, my expectations were certainly met. My expectations of modern Star Trek are very low at this point. And so you have to ask why. Why was this made, and who was it made for? I'm amazed Paramount greenlit something like this, given that there couldn't possibly have been any audience data that would have indicated that there was any demand for it. With so much social media sentiment and direct audience feedback available, where was the evidence that Star Trek fans wanted something like this film, or would possibly even respond favorably to it? Seriously, I want to see the justification for the greenlighting of this project, because any Star Trek fan is going to tell you this is not what they wanted. Survey the fan base. That's all you have to do. Ask them what particular flavor of Star Trek they would prefer to see in a TV show or film. Ask what the most popular settings and situations are. It's not difficult to predict the answers. Most of them are going to tell you something similar, that they want a Star Trek show or film that resembles the golden era of 80s and 90s Star Trek, albeit with modern visual effects, filming, and production standards, of course. There's only so many flavors of Star Trek you can choose from. It has its own identity. You can't break from the formula too much. Section 31 wasn't even a flavor of Star Trek. It was a whole different food group, to stretch the metaphor. You can't substitute Star Trek with something else entirely and then slap a Star Trek label on it and expect fans to just lap it up and buy into it. It doesn't pass the Star Trek taste test, and so you can hardly be surprised when the reception is lukewarm at best, or in this case, universally negative across the board. Section 31 was such a monumentally massive miscalculation by the powers that be, and it can only serve as yet more proof that there is no need to necessarily reinvent the wheel when it comes to modern franchises. Give audiences what's worked in their favorite franchises and they will be pretty happy. This really leads us to my final point. Whether it's all of the changes that have been made to Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, or the MCU, when this era of subverting audience expectations finally does end, and it has been a kind of a trend in Hollywood, will there be anything left of these properties to rebuild from, other than their smouldering wreckage? Alright guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.